Tim, should we tell the listeners how to join the Golf Week Amateur Tour?
Yes, of course. We should probably do it now before we forget, though.
I agree. It's simple. All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click the Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership.
Thanks, Chris. Membership for 2024 is open, so register today to join the oldest, largest, and best amateur tour in the country.
And remember, this podcast can be found on all the major platforms. So make sure you like, download, and share it with all your friends and family.
Chris, that's a great idea. Now, on to the show. All right, Chris, welcome back. We're back to the post-Masters, post-Heritage edition of Golf Week Amateur Tour, the podcast. I think things are rolling along great, and I think we got a great episode this week.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of fun. I did hear from Little Birdie that somebody was able to be out there during the Heritage.
Yeah.
So excited to hear those stories. Spieth kind of let me down, especially with 2 playoff putts that he needed to make, but it was fun to watch. And, I don't think we've had a close PGA event like that where people were tuned in to watch the last couple holes.
Yeah, and I don't want to give it away who that birdie was, but Fitz's second shot in on the last playoff hole, I don't know what it looked like on TV, but it was phenomenal. I mean, blew me away. I don't know if you've played it at Harbortown before, but when there's a reason why the guys kind of play it over top of the marsh the second time, and where Fitz was, I'm thinking that's not where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be there. And then he hit that shot. I was like, oh my God, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was a phenomenal shot. So anyway.
Oh yeah. I mean, the third try in the last 4 holes he played at the same shot. Mm-hmm. You got to get it right once. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't believe all the putts that the 2 of them missed on those playoff holes. Just skimming the edges.
Yeah, it was a good golf to watch.
We'll talk about that at the end. Let's get this rolling. Like I said, we've got some great interviews with tour directors. It's going to be the Jeff show, and we got Roger coming on. So hang with us.
Yeah, let's get it started.
Welcome to the Golf Week Amateur Tour, the podcast. We are your hosts, Tim Newman and Chris Rocha. As the oldest and largest amateur golf tour in the country, we put on individual stroke play golf tournaments that are handicapped by flights in 48 markets across the country. The Golf Week Amateur Tour, where amateurs play like pros.
All right, so as we continue with the podcast, we've talked with a handful of tour directors across the country, and we're going to kind of keep that going for this episode. We have a good slate of tour directors and, of course, our rules segment at the end of the episode, so I hope you guys stick around for that. But let's get started first with the Indiana, Western Kentucky tour director, Jeff Pleiss. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
No problem. So, just going through your homepage on our website, obviously we have to highlight, we do love that you have our podcast right there for listeners to take a look. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, so how's it been so far? I see you have had 1 event, 2 once this podcast airs. How's everything been going so far?
It's been going really well. So this is my first year as tour director. I've spent the last 12 years as assistant to my father-in-law and took the reins over this year. And the season's off to a really strong start. In fact, the second week of March, we passed our all-time record for membership.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's a big step, being your first year doing that. I remember my first year, we we hit a couple records. So congratulations on that. It's only looking up from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So this past Saturday, I'm sorry, we had our very first tournament, and it was actually a sellout. We had 68 players. And that was the most we've ever had for a single tournament for our tour. So
that's
pretty
awesome.
excited about that. That's
awesome. Going off of what you're talking about, your schedule wise, I do see a pretty hefty schedule on the website. Looks like at the most part, probably every other week you have an event, if anything.
Yeah. Trying to keep it to at least two a month.
Cool. Are there any of those specific events? Obviously, as we're on the tour, the majors are usually big courses, big events. But are there any in particular that you're excited to host as it being your first year?
Yeah. So we're actually hosting a joint event with the Indianapolis Tour up at IU, the Indiana University. Their new foul course that opened, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. And it's an incredible course. It's already ranked one of the best courses in the Big Ten and one of the best courses in the Midwest. So it's unbelievable. Also very excited about, we have one of our majors at Fuzzy Zeller's. He's from Southern Indiana, and he has 2 courses on the southeast end of the state, Champions Point and Covered Bridge, and we do a 2-day major there across both courses, and they're really good courses. And another one I'm excited that we've added this year is a course called Chariot Run, which is a link style course. It's actually almost to Louisville, Kentucky. So
cool. I mean, those do sound exciting. Which one of those 3 is the one that you can't wait to play?
The foul course at IU. I mean, that course, when you step on it, it's something special. It's already, working its way up the top 100 in the rankings. And it wouldn't shock me if they started having some bigger events there down the road.
Nice. I mean, me coming from Texas, we're all about that Big 12. So
sure.
It's nice to hear other courses being mentioned from other conferences. But that's cool though. I always wish the best to everybody. Me as being I want to say my 5th year doing this. I remember how it was being a new director. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I can definitely give you some insight. Have you been listening to the podcast? Let's be honest.
I have. That's why I reached out to you in the off season about the Par 4 Challenge, and I have put that into play this year. So, and the players are pretty excited about it. So, yeah,
that's a lot of fun. I hope it works out for you. It allows people to at least focus on one hole, especially if they didn't start off very well.
Yes,
at least that's for me.
Absolutely.
Do you play during your events, or you just run them?
I do. I play also. I've got a couple guys that assist me, Chris Crook and Rick Wigginton. And so we tag team the whole thing, and all 3 of us play. So far,
it's a lot
so
easier
good.
When you have help.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So going through everything that I've seen on here, one thing that did catch my eye, and for those of you that have listened, we're real big about Ryder Cups. We love watching it. We love having them. I don't like to talk about mine since we lost last year, but we have one between Arizona. But you have one called the Indiana Cup. Explain that to us.
So yeah, we do. It's our version of the Ryder Cup. It's Indiana Western Kentucky versus the Indianapolis Tour. We started it back in 2016, I believe. And we are on a little bit of a drought on our end at Indiana Western Kentucky the last few years, but they've been mostly close competitions. And I mean, it's so hard to beat match play. It's such a fun format, and you don't get to do it very often. Team golf is just an incredible thing to participate in.
Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Srixon.
A great iron set needs more than good looks. It's gotta be fast and gotta be pure. But good looks never hurt either. The all-new ZX Mark II irons from Srixon.
Yeah. So what formats do you guys do when you have your event?
So on Saturdays, we kick it off with 2-man best ball, net best ball. And then we do on Saturday afternoons, we'll do 2-man scramble. And then Sundays we do singles.
Okay. And you said net best ball. So you combine players from different flights.
We do.
I assume.
We do. And we use the tour handicap at the end of the season.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a good way to look at it. I imagine it's a lot more work for you guys, at least the directors trying to figure out the handicaps and all of that stuff.
It is a little bit of extra work, but our tours, when we started these, at least our tour and the Indianapolis tour weren't on the bigger end of things. So it was hard to make sure that we had the same amount of players in each flight.
Right.
And so it made more sense to go about it this net way. Now, as we've both been growing down the road, who knows, we could go do away with that and, have all A players against A players and, be straight up. But that's a little more down the road. We're still both in growth mode.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a new way of looking at how people can vary their Ryder Cup styles. And that's what makes everybody's Ryder Cup different.
Yeah.
Some people do just two days. Some people don't even do singles. So it's pretty cool to hear all these stories from all these different tours across the country and how they have incorporated a Ryder Cup style event.
Yeah. Yeah. And anybody who hasn't participated in one, I highly encourage you. I'll be honest, I think it's probably the most fun thing we do all year. I love all the regular season tournaments, and I have a real special place in my heart for nationals, but there's something about team golf and match play that's just extra special.
Right. No, I completely agree. So taking over, obviously you guys kind of kept it in the family with it being your father-in-law. What were your thoughts when he asked you if you wanted to take over the tour?
Well, we talked about it for, 5 to 10 years, that he was grooming me for it. And it was something I was interested in and something I wanted to do. So, I just kind of been waiting for him to let me know that he was ready to hand it off. And he's still running the senior tour this year for us. Okay. And probably will for the foreseeable future. So we're kind of dividing and conquering, and he's still playing on the AM side as well. And he's assisting me, and I'm just trying to lean on him and, take advantage of everything he's learned through the years and, see what we can do with it.
That's awesome. I mean, that's just one cool way of being able to get new directors here. Cause if it's not easy and life happens, people have to definitely leave. And I bet you they don't want to. Uh-huh. Being able to have some people that they can look onto and lean and kind of make those plans for the future is just something special. So congratulations on that. Any last words you kind of want to give our listeners, anybody that's possibly in the area that might be considering joining or even coming down to some events?
Yeah, please reach out to me if you have any interest at all. I would love to hit 100 players this year. Not just to hit them, but, to grow this thing. It's kind of like a club, it's a social group too. And, we have a great time together and we play a lot of great courses, and it would be great to add some more people to that, create some new friendships and, see what we could do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you taking some time to come on. We'll definitely talk at nationals. Maybe sooner, depending on what happens. Good luck in your Indiana Cup this year.
Thank you very much.
Want to hear that. Hopefully you bring that trophy home before nationals.
I sure hope so.
Well, good luck. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you having me.
All right. So we just had a great conversation with Jeff from the Indiana, Western Kentucky Tour. And now we're going to flip over to another Jeff director, Mr. Jeff Helbig, from the Nashville Tour. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thank you for spending some time with us. As I mentioned before in this podcast, and you'll probably listen to it when it does get released, we've been touching a bunch of tour directors, picking their brains, now that the season's gearing up. But you and me, we kind of have the same, I want to say type of tour, because we get to play golf early in the year. So how's it been so far? I know you guys started in March. How's everything membership-wise, tournament-wise, things like that?
We've had a good start. I sold out my leadoff tournament, which was at Gaylord Springs. It's kind of more of our resort course, and I always catch it earlier in the season because I get a little bit of a discounted rate. But we topped it out, and then right behind it, kind of like after spring breakish time, we hit. I've kind of done a new little format where I do 2 tournaments in one weekend, but they're not. It's not a 2-day tournament. And I sold out the first one of those at a nice course called Greystone. And so I've kind of hit those numbers. And right now I'm kind of hovering in around 100 to 80 players per tournament. So it's going pretty well.
That's not bad. I mean, those are good numbers. It gets a lot of players out there. Are the flights pretty much even, or are you seeing a big amount in some other flights?
Well, my most competitive flight tends to be my A flight.
Okay.
I got a lot of 30-year-old guys that are just highly competitive, and that tends to be big. B flights kind of with them. So I tend to run 20 to 30 players in those flights. Champ is always a work in progress. Trying to get the champ guys. And I think that's probably standard for most people. Trying to think in terms of trying to do some incentives, and my Meredith is working on us doing some sponsorships and plugging a little bit more money into the champ side to see if we can entice a lot more champ players. This year I did notice too, though, we've had a little bit of a dip in my D flight. And not huge, but it's kicking in right now. I'm getting more and more. But when we started, it was a little bit lower. So kind of my A, B, and C are where they've always been, or maybe even a little higher. And always working on the either end, the champs or the Ds.
Right. Yeah, I think that's with, like you said, most tours. Hopefully, you're seeing an increase in C flight because D flight's getting better and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's our main goal. I think for every tour is to see their players get better.
And I'll run, like I think probably most tour directors do too. I'll take a look at all those indexes, and if I see guys that are pushing toward it and or can drop back, I'll let them know and say, hey, let's put you in the most competitive situation that we can put you in. And I think that's where most folks want to be. So,
oh yeah, definitely. It makes it a lot more enjoyable than just going out there and already starting off knowing you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
So going down your schedule, it is a packed schedule. It looks like you have events, besides the summer, which people go travel. So I can kind of see why that is. Have events almost every weekend for Golf Week. Any events might want to highlight, or, you're excited to go out and have a crack at, things like that?
Yeah, on my Golf Week side, probably one of the more favorite events for a lot of players is our 2-day event down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. It sits kind of right on the border with me and Scott down in Birmingham, the Alabama Tour. And so we kind of piggyback. And actually, I work a lot with Scott in terms of early in the year, he does one down in Gulf Shores. And my guys get invited and go down there. And it's kind of like a, quote, spring break trip for a lot of people, and more of a kickoff event for my guys, because it's normally, we've done it like late March, in and around that time frame. So he piggybacks back on me because I'll do the hosting of Muscle Shoals. And that's about a 2-hour drive, just a little bit south of me. And most of my guys in that area love it. And it's the Robert Trent Jones trail courses in Alabama. And they are absolutely fantastic courses. And if you've never been to the Florence area in Muscle Shoals, there's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of places to go to. You got a little bit of music. I'm sure most of the area nightlife revolves around music. So we have a good time. And that's one of the ones on the golf week side that everybody likes. Now, this year on the senior side, I'm going to do a regional, and that's going to be in early June. And we're doing it in the middle of the week, Wednesday and a Thursday, first week in June. And it's in downtown Nashville, 2 courses. They're daily fee courses, but they're high end as far as quality. And it's Hermitage, which is literally right down the street from Andrew Jackson's old home. And one of the courses was one of the original courses that hosted an LPGA event years ago. And then now they've built a second course that's years ago too. But the one style of course, the older one, is more of a parkland type course. And then the newer one is out in the middle of a swamp, an old duck hunting farm or duck hunting area. So there's not any houses out there, but there's a whole lot of wildlife and a whole lot of zoysia greens and fairways and all of that. So it's a good combination of courses, and hoping to build that up, have a lot of people come in, like in our area, get some players from Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, and anybody else. I've talked to some folks. I've been out to some regionals this year. I went down to Atlanta, the Oconee regional that Tim does, and I talked to a gentleman from Chicago, and I talked to him and say, hey, get your wife, come on down to Nashville and do the 2-day regional that we're going to do. So looking forward to both of those, and both of those are in June. One's early June, and then the Muscle Shoals is kind of later June. And those kind of highlight the middle of the season for us.
Cool. I mean, those sound like a bunch of fun. I wish I lived closer to play some of those East courses. I mean, we have a Robert Trent Jones course here, and I think anytime I play Robert Trent Jones courses, I have a blast. So
I love his courses.
Have to check out that trail.
But there's 2 things I've noticed about Robert Trent Jones, just especially in Alabama. Number one, the man cannot stand to put a cart path anywhere near green. So you have to literally cart and walk, which I think that's probably good for all of us. And the other one is he always tends to run out of real estate. It's like the last hole is like, it's a great course. And then like for us at Muscle Shoals, the last hole on the really nice course, or the older or the longest course, is like a par 3, just because it sits on a bluff rolling from the Tennessee River. It's like he ran out of land and just plopped in a par 3. So, but you got to love those courses. They're well done, well designed, well maintained.
Oh yeah, they're a lot of fun. So I'm going through the schedule. I see that you have a plethora of Saturday and Sunday events, and then some Monday events. How's that been for you? Especially having events that are single day events on Sunday and Monday.
So there's a reason behind that. Nashville, Middle Tennessee, and I kind of consider my area runs from like Bowling Green down to Muscle Shoals. And then east and west, I go from like the Tennessee River that kind of cuts West Tennessee and Middle Tennessee all the way to the ridge lines, which is Chattanooga up to Cookville, Crossville, which is halfway to Knoxville. That kind of sits in my area. And while we have very good public courses, there's a lot of municipal courses. The reality to Nashville is there's a ton of private courses. And if you were to ask somebody, that's kind of where a lot of people tend to think. So I had a philosophy of coming in and trying to establish relationships with private course directors and say, look, I don't want to wear you out. What I would love to do is kind of rotate in your course if I can get on it, whatever we can do, and maybe rotate about every 5 years and come back. So we're not going to hitch up every year, just want to rotate and do different private courses. And a lot of them will do that because in the South, what happened with a lot of private courses that were designed years ago was you had Caddy's Day, and Caddy's Day was Monday. And if you ever watch Caddyshack, that's what you get with Caddyshack too, is Monday, the course closes. So the members don't play, the restaurants are all closed, but the caddies would be able to get to play. Well, nowadays, not very many people have caddies. You have cart barns and all that, but still the course is maintained that they're closed on Monday. And that's where I kind of come at them from, can I get a Monday? And I will run it, as long as we just have access to carts and bathrooms, nothing else has to be open. We'll take care of everything. And a lot of times we'll bring like water so people have something to drink. And so that's where the Mondays come in. And so a lot of those that you'll look at, like on my schedule this year, are those Monday events will be private courses. And I tend to like to do those too in the summertime, because a lot of people do go on vacation, and a lot of people who work can get off on a Monday in the summertime. And so we've got West Haven, which I want to say is September, maybe. It's either August or September. I'd have to look at my schedule.
August.
Yes. And that is a high-end, nice private course. It's pricey. They hit me up with the highest price I've ever had to pay per player. But I've played it before, and we've had it on the schedule years ago when it first opened. But it is absolutely worth it. And I think the players will really, really enjoy that one. A couple of weeks prior to that, because, again, I like to kind of put in two private courses. I've got Temple Hills, and Temple Hills is an old private course that's been in Nashville for a long time. They've got 27 holes. They rotate those holes. And so those are the two private courses that I put in for this year. Last year, we did a couple of private courses on Mondays in the kind of northeast suburb of Nashville. And they were really, really well taken. They're very nice courses. One's called Foxland, the other's called Fairview. They actually live real close to those. And then the year before that, I had done the exact same thing with kind of two courses, and I did a really nice private course on the south side of Nashville called the Governor's Club. And, the other one was an old style country club called Bluegrass Yacht and Country Club. Next year, I'm going to hope, knock on wood, to go after the Vanderbilt University courses.
Okay.
They have two courses, and one of them I can't get on. The other one I can get on, and I will try, and I will bring another private course with that. But that's kind of where the Mondays come. And what's nice about having a Monday tournament is, again, the course is closed, so we shotgun start it. We're not pressed for time. There's not people out there like pushing real hard as far as time, even though with Nashville, I've really tried to make sure that my times get down under 5 hours, in and around 5 hours of playing time. But it's nice to have a Monday tournament and get that turnout. The only kind of drawback is some people can't get off, and it's, you're working, and totally understandable. So sometimes in the past, I've tried to even open up and do literally two tournaments and do, like my GWAT early, and then maybe bringing the seniors right behind them. And that way, because sometimes these courses will want me to guarantee them a number of like 7 players. And normally we hit that number. So I'm really looking forward to everybody playing West Haven this year. I think everybody's going to enjoy that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lastly, before we cut this off, I see on your schedule, on your homepage, you have a Ryder Cup. Do you have a Ryder Cup? And if so, against who?
Well, that's a great question. Last year, okay. I inherently am not real fond of Ryder Cups, even though I love formats differences. I think that's a great thing. One of the reasons I'm not real big into Ryder Cups is I think inherently they're not fair, because if I were to do a Ryder Cup against a smaller tour, I'm going to get a better selection of players per my flights than others. So I can see that being tough. Now, saying that, in the past in Nashville, we have done Ryder Cups. We've done it with Kentucky. We've done it with St. Louis. And I think we did it with Mississippi. Sometimes we would do it down in Tunica, just south of Memphis. They have a real nice course. And that's kind of a travel spot for some people sometimes. Last year, I did something different. I did a 2-man team Ryder Cup. We played for 2 days, and we varied the format per each 9 holes. So you got to pick your partner and come in, and it was established by index as to which flight you were in. So you would combine the two and put them in, and we had 2 different flights. And like we started with the first 9, I played 1 course. It was a fairly inexpensive course, but the first 9 we did, I want to say the best ball. I think first 9 was just best ball. Second 9 was alternate shot, select drive, alternate shot. Then we came back the next day and we played 2-man scramble. And then the last 9 was play your own ball, straight up individual play. And the guys really enjoyed it. It wasn't a very large group, but we did that. And I invited anybody who wanted to come. We had some folks out of Alabama, had a couple out of Kentucky, some of my guys. And I thought they enjoyed it. And we actually did a cup, as the trophy. And it went over pretty well. So right now, if you're looking at my schedule, there's nothing there in that block. There's nothing there that says that because I haven't really looked at it as to how we're going to do that. But we may do the same type of thing where it's actually more of just you pick a partner, and I kind of like those kind of events, especially late in the season, working toward the next season, because it allows somebody to bring a guest. And as long as I can get a verifiable index or handicap on them, that's, I would love for them to bring whoever they would like to, and kind of experience, our tours and, the fun of playing, especially in a small team group setting like that.
Right. No, I can completely agree with you on that. I mean, you're almost at 200 members, and if you go up to somebody that's got, let's say maybe 110, that's 90 players that you can choose from that they don't have the option to. So I can see why, but I also enjoy, or I like the format you made, to at least still have one. I mean, do you split those teams in half within the flights, or how does that work?
Well, again, what it is a combined indexing. So you come in, and if I've got an A flight player and a B flight player, and their index is, a 15 combined, what I can do, and there's even a net aspect to what you can do, because if you'll run 85% of the index, you can net in holes, and so that you've got your senior D flight. But really, what I did was literally just do combined indexes, list them top to bottom, and then drew a line. And so everybody that was above, they were in the first flight. Everybody that was below, they were in the second flight. And we just cut the pots up right that way. And actually, I got 2 sets of trophies, 1 for each flight. So it worked out pretty well.
That sounds like fun. I mean, I do a 2-man scramble to start the season as like a preseason, bring a guest, kind of meet people around here. And then I do a 2-man scramble members only at the halfway point of my season.
Okay.
Kind of get these guys off of the stroke play mindset that they go through all year. And I mean, you and me have long seasons, so being able to get your mind off of that for at least one event, I usually see the reset button hit after that, and then we get done with it with the second part of the season. So I think that's what's great with Golf Week in general, is each tour has their own things that they do for their members.
Right.
And it just, it brings the joy of being able to have competitive golf, but also have fun rounds at the same time.
What I love is the fact that we're talking about it, because a lot of people do different things. And I love hearing what you're doing, or what, South Carolina's doing. And sometimes I think about it, just plug it in and try it, because we're all out here chasing a little white ball and having a good time doing it. And you're right. We solely, because we are a competitive amateur league, we really stick to that stroke play. But a lot of people want other events. My history prior to coming in to Golf Week was I used to run municipal tours in Nashville, or leagues in Nashville. and one of them a public course, and we would play twice a month. The first event was what you would consider low gross, low net competitive amateur. But then we would always do a follow-up later in the month with something that was a different format, like fireball, four scramble type things, or alternate shot, or 4 club tournaments where you only get 4.
Yeah.
So, and it's fun because that gives you a little bit of variance to it, and throws a little bit. But with us, we stick to our bread and butter, which is going to be that amateur, competitive. But throwing in a good little curveball every now and then, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I do appreciate you spending some time with us. Good luck in the rest of the season. Good luck getting over that 200 mark, and see how high you can get that membership.
Yeah, working at it. We've got a lot of competition with tours and other things in the Middle Tennessee area. And, but tell you what, we're still the biggest and the oldest and the best, in my opinion. So, we're working on a lot of new members. I have one of my players works for the University of Tennessee social media group.
Nice.
So he does my Instagram and Facebook. My Facebook's 40 and up, and my Instagram is 40 and down. And I get a lot of folks and have gained members through Instagram. So we're really, really trying to get that thing to grow and get it up there. I want to go after the Michelles of the world and the Tidewaters of the world and get up to those numbers. But here's the thing, that poses a problem too, because then you run out of space. What do? You got to work on like multiple tournaments within one day, the morning group and the afternoon group. So a little bit more work, but hey, for folks out there, if they want to come and have a good time and want to play good competitive golf, and you and I both know once you play it once or twice, it gets a little bit addictive. And
yes,
then you get those people to talk to their friends, and you grow it from there. And I love the fact with what I'm doing, and I think a lot of folks do it, we make it more of a family and make it more friendly. And yes, it's competitive, but we love you to death and we want you to be out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've talked about this numerous times on the show. So we're 100% with that.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for spending some time. Good luck. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, I'm going to get up and go on an airplane and come down there and play an event. I'll holler at you. We'll find one out down there. Okay.
Yeah. We'll pick a good one for you.
All right. Sounds good, Chris.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we just had a great conversation with Jeff Helbig, the director for the Nashville Tour. It's always, again, I always say this all the time. It's great to talk to other tour directors around the country so you guys get to know who we have on the roster. But also, I think it was interesting the way he does a Ryder Cup with as many players as he has. A great solution to being able to have one of those and keep the playing fair. So as we move on, we're going to go ahead and go to our favorite segment of the month. I know we've gotten a lot of good reviews about it, and people are actually loving the clarification of these items that we talk about. So we're going to bring our rules expert, Roger, back in. Roger, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back. Good to hear your voice.
Well, we're glad to have you. Like I said, we keep getting great comments about the rules we keep bringing up. I know it's clarified a lot of things that have come up at events, and I've actually used some, in my favor without breaking the rules. So I'm glad we're able to do this.
Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, Srixon.
ZX Mark II drivers are for major players, major winners, major power. All new ZX Mark II drivers, only from Srixon.
Yep, so am I. Appreciate being on here for sure.
Yeah, so, let's just go back real quick. I know there was one big hot topic during Masters Week that if people don't have the clarification yet, we can kind of go over that, and that was the Brooks Koepka caddy situation. In case anyone that doesn't know that's listening, I believe it was after the second round he was leading, and there was controversy that his caddy might have given another player's caddy advice, and he should have been penalized for that and wasn't. What are your thoughts on that, Roger?
Yeah, so this might be news to you. I don't know if you know that, but I was at the Masters this year.
Nice.
And yeah, I actually worked it not as a rules official, though. So maybe some other segment we can talk about how I got on there. But I was one of those like Pinkerton guard type guys.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw the guys in the white shirts. I was one of those this year.
Okay.
So I was assigned to the 10th tee most of the time. And it's something anybody listening could apply for, basically. And it's a way into the Masters without getting a ticket or getting a volunteer spot. So anyhow, so I read and looked at a lot of videos and a lot of information about that incident. And I don't know if for the people listening, so it was on video evidence, it appeared that the caddy mouthed twice that his player used, it wasn't Koepka's caddy, it was the other player, that he used a 5-iron. And it was on the video, and you could clearly see it with his mouth that he looked like he was saying 5.
Right.
And then even Koepka, he made a reference with his hand, like a 5, that it was a 5-iron. And he said in an interview later, well, no, I was just like taking my glove off. And to take his glove off and make a 5, it just was very odd.
Right.
So telling the other players that you're using a 5-iron, in most cases, we would consider that advice. So the scuttlebutt, it all happened, and they were saying that they basically got a free pass in most of the rules officials' opinions. And there was a lot of controversy because they think they did not do the right thing. Not the rules officials, that the tour, like the Masters is a different breed of tournament.
Right.
There's committees and there's all this stuff. And they said that this incident, it's something that always goes on tour, and and the thing was, they actually interviewed Koepka afterwards, and he said, no, we did not do this. So, you have to go with what the players say. And I suppose it could have gotten overruled, but I'll tell you what, 99% of every post, every interview, everything I've seen is that this was a case of where the caddy was telling what club was used, and it should have been a penalty. And I think it put a bad face on a little bit on what happens on tour. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of revision or something that goes on with regard to this. What else did you hear? Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I saw the video just like everybody else. And in my opinion, it seems like in order for these announcers to give what club these guys are hitting, that they have to get information somewhere. So I don't know if he was telling the reporters, those that walk with him. I don't know. But I was curious because it looked like he got information on what club he hit, and I felt like it should have also been a penalty. Because like we've talked about this before on the show, you can't get advice, you can't ask for advice until until all the players have actually hit their ball in order to then talk about what you shot.
Exactly, yeah. And, I was thinking about it because I was on a chat group and we were talking like, do we think this should be changed? And it's like, well, where do you draw the line? What do you consider advice? And where could you, not consider it advice? And I'll be honest, like I was thinking about it. Even if I know my buddy hit a 4-iron, I don't think we're not that good that it's going to change my decision on what I hit.
Right.
It's like, and that's the way I was thinking about it. But, but for this instance, I really think it was a bad call on the Masters committee. And that's just my opinion. But my opinion is very much like most other people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the problem is the Masters is put so high on a pedestal that they don't want any controversy. I think they could have penalized it, we would have still probably seen him in the final pairing anyways, and gone with what was correct. But like you said, the Masters is its own beast. I mean, that's why they allowed live guys to play, which was nice to see.
Right.
But I mean, golf is a game of policing yourself, and if you can't do it properly on the biggest stage, it looks bad.
Yeah, and just that video evidence of the caddy, you could just tell he was saying a 5. And I tried to like mouth other words, like what else could it be? It's like a 5 is a 5. It's a pretty prominent, it comes out pretty good as a 5. So yeah. So
yeah, and they have millions of cameras out there. You can't get away with that.
Right. Yep. But it was cool being there. I'll tell you that. It was a neat experience. I got to of course I walked the whole course, and I one day I worked the 4th hole of the course, which was a par 3, which was pretty neat. I was on the 10th hole, and you couldn't really see the ball like landing, but another day I went and watched the landing area. And I don't know if you've been to the Masters, but it's just like people say, it doesn't justify seeing it on TV how steep the hills are. I thought number 18 and number 10, they're just crazy. Just how steep the hills are. You can't really tell it on TV, but once you get out there, it's something else. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't been out yet. Hopefully one day I'll get to. But I have heard the same thing that people say when they go. It's just crazy what it looks like, and it explains, seeing Tiger in the way he was in that cold, other people limping around. That it's got to be different than when it looks on TV.
Oh yeah. Good. Oh, so about the cold and the weather, so small world thing. So there was a weather delay on a couple of days,
right.
And I'm standing around and I start to chat with one of the other guys that was doing what I was doing. And you probably know this guy. I think he's taking a sabbatical this year, but he's the Las Vegas tour director. We started talking. Rawlings, maybe his last name, or I'm not sure is exactly his last name. But he's the Las Vegas tour director, and he's having some health issues right now. But he's been the tour director for many years, and this year he gave it to somebody else, but he's going to come back next year. So talk about a small world. There's probably like 500 of us out there, and I met like maybe 30 of them. And this gentleman was one of the tour director of the Las Vegas edition of the amateur tour. So
wow,
it's pretty neat.
What a small world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing is you weren't by that tree that fell, because that was
yeah, that was crazy. Yeah. I did walk by the next day, and there's like you could hardly tell a thing happened. I mean,
they were quick.
It was like they really were quick. Yeah.
Well, let's move on. A big question that we as a national tour we use a lot. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rob might have done it on 18 at the Masters, but provisional balls. We encourage our players, if you think it went out of bounds, if you think it went in the rough and you won't be able to find it, hit a provisional ball. It doesn't hurt. Obviously you need to declare you're hitting a provisional ball. Make sure you have a different marking on that ball. Those are important so we can distinguish which one's which. But what are your thoughts on that, or what is the ruling behind when it's okay to hit a provisional ball, if we should hit a provisional ball, and things like that?
Right. So I'm glad you want to discuss this because of the many things that come up in tournaments, and I've mentioned penalty areas, but provisional balls is definitely top 3 on confusion, when to use it and when not to use it, and then how you use it when hazards are involved. And there is a distinct thing. So a provisional ball can be hit, 1, if you think your ball is out of bounds, okay, like you said, and then 2, if it's lost outside a penalty area, and that's key, if you think your ball is lost outside a penalty area. But what happens is, on that part of it, even if it has to be known or virtually certain. That's a key word in the golf rules or golf when we explain. If you think your ball is near a penalty area but could be lost, that doesn't prevent you from hitting a provisional ball. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're on a tee and you do know there's a penalty area to the right and you've hit your ball towards it, but you're not exactly sure if it's in the penalty area or if it could be lost outside that penalty area. So then you can hit a provisional ball, and you should hit a provisional ball, because you don't want to get down there and find out, yeah, there's no way it's in the provision, not in the penalty area, it's lost, and now you have to go back to the tee and hit again. If you've hit a provisional ball at that point, then you can use that provisional ball. But going over this also on the flip side, let's say you hit towards an area and you can't see it off the tee, and you hit towards an area and you hit a provisional ball. You get down to the area and you and your partners see that it's all marked with red stakes or yellow stakes, and there's no way it couldn't be in the penalty area. What you have to do then is, even though you've hit another ball, you cannot play that provisional ball if there's no way, if it's known or virtually certain that that ball is in the penalty area. You have to abandon your provisional ball. And when I talk about this, anything I'm talking with you guys on, unless you bring it up, I'm assuming there are no local rules in play.
Right.
Because there is a local rule that allows you to hit a provisional ball even if you think your ball's in the penalty area, but we don't play that on our Golf Week Amateur Tour.
Correct.
So if you hit your ball over a hill, you get to the top of the hill and you see it's in a penalty area, even though the provisional ball might be in the middle of the fairway in a beautiful spot, you cannot play that, because then you'd be penalized for playing a wrong ball. And the reason they have that is, with a ball in a penalty area, then you can drop, like if it's a red penalty area, you could drop, let's say that was a 250-yard shot. You'd be allowed, because now it's in the penalty area, to play from right there and take a one penalty stroke for being in the penalty area, as opposed to going all the way back to the tee and using, hitting another 250-yard shot. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So you'd be hitting 3 instead of hitting 4 off your provisional.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You'd be hit the provisional. Hit your tee shot. It goes to down there. You take a penalty back to the tee. You hit another shot. So now you're back in the fairway, and then you're hitting 4. Exactly. Yep. So that's why. So, you did say something about you have to announce, and it is, and this has happened to me actually, and it's not something that I actually help players in this way. If a player just says something like, well, I'm going to hit another one, if they don't say, I'm going to hit a provisional ball, or I'm going to play another one just in case that one's, they have to really say something to let you know that the ball they're playing is going to be a provisional ball. Because if they just say, I'm going to reload, I don't know if they're using that as a provisional, and they can't declare it afterwards. Once you hit, you have to say that it's a provisional. Actually, it's not that hard to say the word provisional. So the players just have to get used to saying that, basically.
Right. On my provisionals, I have a little sad face on my golf ball. So if I have to play that one, after trying to find your score, if I have a sad face, it knows I have to take a stroke.
Right. Yep. It's to identify the second ball, your provisional ball, as the one that's the provisional, and don't use your other one, because there is actually something about that. Let's say you hit your provisional and you find both balls. Well, the rules say, even though you find both, you have to assume the ball that's down there. It's not like you found your first ball. You have to play it as a provisional. If you find both balls right next to each other and they're the same ball and you can't identify which is which, you get penalized a stroke, and you're playing there as the provisional ball. You can't just say, oh, one of these is mine, so I'm going to go ahead and not get a penalty stroke.
Right. And that's why it's key to always either carry a marker in your bag or something, so you can put that mark on there so everybody knows.
Right. Something else I'd like to go over is, when does the provisional ball become the ball in play? So let's say you play a provisional ball, and again, you hit your first one 300 yards out there, because I know you hit it about 325, right?
I wish. Downwind,
so, So maybe you hit your provisional ball, maybe you hit it 100 yards and, you didn't have a very good shot with it. Well, you can keep playing that provisional ball until you get to the place where you estimate your original ball to be. Once you play that provisional ball past where you estimate that original ball to be, even if you were to find that original ball, once you've played it past that place, your provisional ball becomes your ball in play. So, keep that in mind that you might hit it twice. You might even hit it 3 times if you're having a lousy hole. And, but once you can keep doing that until you get to the place where your original ball might be. Then, of course, you look for your original ball. And then if you don't find it, you play within the 3 minutes, you play your provisional.
Yeah, that was actually my next question to you. For our C and D flighters out there that might have that situation come up, for pace of play as well, it helps to not have to drive those 300 yards, not find it, and come back to the 100-yard mark and try and hit that way. Take that ball, keep hitting it until you get to that mark, like you said, and then see if you can find that first one.
Exactly. Yep. And just keeps play moving, like you said, and hopefully you'll find that first one and you won't be playing that provisional ball. Right.
And that's just where the communication on the course happens. You're letting your players know what you're doing, what your intentions are. And now they have the ruling to back up what they're trying to do.
Right. I think the biggest thing out of this, though, is the part about when you can or can't hit it that I get questions on with regard to the penalty area thing. And when you find out that a ball is in a penalty, this is what usually happens. They've hit a provisional. They find out it's actually lost, but it's lost in a penalty area. Most players think they can still play that provisional ball, and you cannot. That is not part of the procedure. Even though, like I said, it might be in a great spot, you have to abandon the provisional ball, then make a decision how, you proceed under the penalty area rule. You either stroke and distance, drop it within 2 club lengths, or use the back on the line of flight release.
Right. You brought up local rules. I know our tour does, Arizona does, because we play in areas where it's mostly desert. You have snakes, you have all these creatures out there that, you can get injured. You can get scratched up by these weeds out there. So we play what we call the desert rule. Same concept, you treat the desert as red hazard. You can declare where it went in, and then take your appropriate strokes and penalties. But if you go in there and look for your ball and you find it, you have to either play that ball or take the stroke and distance penalties. So kind of the same concept. I would assume, you find that ball in that hazard, then your provisional is no longer valid because you have to take what that first ball is showing.
Good point. That reminds me of something. Sometimes you might not want to find your original ball. It might be deep in the woods, but if and you could even ask other players, I don't want you to look for that. But if just by chance they're looking for their ball, or for whatever reason, they're walking near the area where it went in, and if they find your ball, even if you ask them not to do it, you have to play it. If you have to make a decision with it, I say you might not play it, but you have to use it for the rules. And that's where, you can basically take advantage. If you don't want somebody to go look for it, make it clear you're going to play another ball. Or what you do is you don't declare a provisional ball. You just hit a second ball and do not declare the provisional ball, because that way the ball you play, let's say you're from the tee, it becomes your ball in play.
Right. And doesn't give that option in case that ball is found. Right.
And then if they did find it and you didn't clear, you could just, you pick up your ball and move on, and you play that second ball that you played, or the other ball that you play, I should say. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Provisional balls. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Provisional balls are along with, like I said, penalty errors. Provisional balls are literally, they're really in the top 3 of things that I get asked: provisionals, obstructions, and then, like I said, penalty areas.
we stress it all the time. So, and I know it's not just my tour that does, it's the whole Golf Week and Senior Am tours, like nationally, that definitely have that rule in place. I know it's used at nationals all the time. So I'm glad we're able to kind of clarify what your options are when you do declare that you're going to be hitting a provisional.
Yep. It happens at every tournament, and players should not feel like they're holding back play, because ultimately it's going to speed up play if you hit that provisional. I'm sure you've experienced, you're on the tee box and the guy in the front group ahead of you starts heading back to the tee, and it's like, oh, what happened here? Yep.
Definitely.
Happened to me in my second tournament this year. Yep.
Especially on a slow day. It's
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Roger, I appreciate you coming on and having, a great session again on rules. Listeners, if you guys have any questions on rules, please email us. Give us an email, shoot us a message, and we'll get those rules questions answered. Roger, I hope you had a great time at the Masters. Next time, let me know so I can get some merch off of you.
You got it. Yeah, all my buddies, of course, they asked, what did I bring them back? What did I bring them back? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's I think that I've heard it's a circus beyond the tournament, that merch tent that they have.
Funny fact, I read something. They do $1 million an hour in merchandise sales. That's what I read recently. I think it was $1 million an hour. It might have even been more than that. It was a crazy number, something like that.
That's insane. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Last question. How many sandwiches did you eat out there?
That was the other great thing. The highest price is $3 for a sandwich. Right. Yes. Right. And we got paid they gave us a per diem. So they put us up in a hotel. This is why I need to tell everybody about this. They put you up in a hotel. You get paid for being the security guy, and they give you a per diem for the food. But it is some long hours. You can work 12 to 14 hours standing in the sun. But I do it again too. I probably will as well. So
I mean, being a patron out there, you're out there for 12, 14 hours anyways.
That's true.
Watching golf. If you want to watch, if you're not there to watch one player and you want to watch the Masters golf and take it in the full, you're probably out there as long as you. So
that's right.
That is awesome. I'll have to look into that, because I do want to get on the grounds one day. Wish I could play, but that's a rabbit's foot I need to mess with in order to get that.
Yeah, you need a connection to be a volunteer, because the volunteers get to play 1 week in May. They have 2 weeks in May that they schedule all the volunteers. They're allowed to play one time. Maybe you've heard that. Not the thing I did, but yeah. So it was still a great experience. Yep.
Well, that's awesome, Roger. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and you have a great one.
Okay, Chris. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Yeah, it's always great having Roger on with us. I think we do get a lot of insight on the rules. Some that we may not even know about, but it's always great to just chit chat with him at least once a month. Hopefully we can get some more questions coming in. I know I'm going to have some probably at my next couple events, but it's always good to have him on.
Yeah, Roger does a phenomenal job. And I was really interested in what he was saying about, the Koepka situation, because, to me, you and I emailed back and forth about this, and because I didn't see it right away. And it was real clear to me what they were doing, because, I mean, he yelled across the fairway. There's the audio of it, and it's obvious. And I get it that Masters is a little bit different, and maybe it's the Live versus PGA thing. They don't want to ruffle any feathers, this, that, or the other thing. But to me, the intent was clear. Koepka knew the intent was clear, and to not just, say what the intent was, to me, really kind of, just kind of rubs me the wrong way, because, to me, it's about the integrity of it, and whether, if you just own it, right? And take your medicine. And it's kind of hard, when these guys our guys look up to these players and try to emulate that, and they see that makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you think, let's say he did get penalized. Was he going to play a lot better those last 2 days to try and catch up, because he wouldn't have been in the lead? Or if he does win, how much of a controversy that's going to be for that 1-2 stroke penalty that he didn't get enforced. So there were so many storylines that I could have come off on that. You being a player out there, there's a million cameras on each hole. And then we're not talking about, the patrons' phones because they can't even have those.
Right.
But everybody's watching every little move that somebody makes on that course. And if your caddy messed up, he messed up. But at the same time, like you said, take your medicine, take the penalty, and then now you're fighting to win. And it might give you a little bit more edge to get the thing closed out.
Right. And Roger also gave some real good information on the provisional ball, and actually got me something that I would say that I wasn't aware of. Like, if your ball ends up in the hazard, you have to still go back and rehit from, or you have to use your options, right? You can't actually use your provisional ball. So that was something that was kind of news to me. But again, he always comes up with these good nuggets, and I really do hope that our listeners are paying attention to this and use these rules to not only be better, but to help them and to help other players. The ones that that may not be listening. But again, real good information.
Yeah, I've been using, like I said, we've used the desert rule here in the good old West Texas, Arizona region. But I emphasize to my guys, the second you go in there and you start looking, you find it in the middle of the bush. Now you have your unplayable option. You can't go back and hit your provisional because it's in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah.
You made that decision to go look, and the desert rule's there so you don't get bit by a snake or
exactly,
poked by some brush or whatever it may be. So it's one of those things, do I want to risk it and have other people go in there and risk it, and then they find it underneath a cactus, and then I'm in more trouble there. But no, it was a great conversation. I'm glad we were able to have that. And again, like you said, I hope the listeners are paying attention because these rules can help. And remember, even if there's a controversy on whether you're right or wrong, play 2 balls,
right,
and then talk with your director after the event and the pro shop, and they'll get you that right answer.
Yeah, that's one thing I want Roger to talk about next time is the 2 balls and how those are really supposed to be played as opposed to how a lot of times they are played. And, I've played a lot of golf in Arizona, and, if I hit the ball in the desert, man, that ball belongs to Jake. It's his. He can have it.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
I mean, I don't care what I hear or what it is. If it's a rabbit or it's a little squirrel, the second I hear rustling in the desert, I'm out.
Yep. So
me and my snake beater club we're out.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm real excited to see what Jeff Pleiss does with Indiana and Western Kentucky. I've known him for a while, and he's taken over for his father-in-law. And they've already got more members than they've ever had. So it's I think he's going to do a great job, and then Jeff Helbig from Nashville, I think he's in his 3rd year now. I think he came on with you.
Yeah.
And I mean he's got Nashville humming. I mean they got a ton of members, they get a ton of play, and he's just gonna take Nashville to be one of the biggest and best tours in the country.
Oh yeah, I mean his schedule is jam packed with an event. It looked like every weekend.
Yeah.
So if you're near or in that area, there's golf to be played, and there's a lot of players out there that you can have competition with. So looking forward to seeing that. And then Western Kentucky, Indiana, I'm really rooting for them for their Ryder Cup. I know he mentioned that they were struggling a little bit, but hopefully this year will be the year that can turn it around.
Yeah. Well, I did get one question from a listener, and we've covered it a little bit already, but I think it's something that we need to reinforce to everybody. And it kind of came through the support email. What didn't come to me directly, but
Okay.
Jen got it and she forwarded it to me because of being on the handicap committee. And the question really comes into play. Question is really related to when does the handicap committee actually get involved? And that's a really good question. And I think, tour directors really need to look at the scores and make that decision, almost before the round is over, because you can see when people are shooting low and then activate it. And I think what happens, and I'll be honest with you. So I didn't get caught in this situation, but I got caught in the situation where, when we look at live score, okay, we only I looked at the top line, right? Let's just say it was a D flight, 96. Wow. Okay. D flight went to 96. Right. I didn't bother to look at the second line, which was also a 96. Oh crap. Now we got a playoff. Right. Yeah. So, but my point is, we need to look at that, at what the score is and really kind of be able to ballpark. Wow. That's a pretty low score. Right. So let's just say, for example, a C flight player is shooting a 77, through 18. What that may actually be something that you want to look at, right? I mean,
right.
I mean, without even starting to look at what the slope and rating is to be able to figure it out, because 77 is just if you're looking at maybe that, so you're +5 through 18 as a C flight player. Yeah, that should probably be looked at. And I think tour directors need to be viewing that as we're going through the round. If a C flight player is +5 through 12 holes, okay, it's maybe put it on your radar. C flight players +5 through 15 holes. Okay, we need to really be looking at this. So it's really, to answer the real question, it's really up to the tour director to have an eye on it. However,
right. And
I'm hoping this doesn't get me in trouble. Chris, I spend a lot of my time in trouble. You know that. I just say what I got to say.
You and me both.
If you as a player think that a score is low, you can ask the tour director to have it looked at.
Right.
And you should do that. I mean, just like anything else, if you think that there's something wrong, take it to your tour director and say, look, can you have this looked at? Can you, is it something that could or should be taken to the handicap committee? And then how that gets activated, the tour director contacts Dennis. He gets us the information, and we talk about it. So not this past weekend, but the weekend before, we had 3 or 4 of them that were really kind of crazy type of things. And there was a back and forth between the 5 tour directors, probably for an hour and a half, about how we were going to rule on these, 4 or 5 different issues that came up. And so what I want people to understand is it's not an automatic thing. There's discussion, there's things that are taken into account, slope and rating, course conditions, weather. You're playing the ball up, you're playing it down, right? Or did you move the tee boxes
right.
up? Are we looking at the right slope? There's so many things that go into this, and to make it fair. And so it's incumbent upon the tour directors to make sure that they activate it so that we can discuss it, and so that we can get some normalcy on some real data on, okay, these are the types of situations where we're going to DQ somebody, and these are the types of situations where we're not.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to play while the event's going on. But, I mean, I make it a habit after 9 holes, check and see the leaderboard. And we've talked this before. If I'm playing, I don't like to see the leaderboard, but I also have to manage 40, 50 other people as well.
Exactly.
So I'll definitely check the leaderboard and then kind of if I need to, put a couple people on my radar and then check every 3 holes. Just to kind of see where they're at. Because I think, at that point, you're checking 4 times. And once we get the if it's a shotgun, let's say hole 15 through 15, that's giving them 3 holes before their final score comes in. But that's also giving the handicap committee 30, 40 minutes to discuss.
Right. And to get information, right? And
Right. And it gives them a chance to, hey, if they're between these numbers, it's a little low. If they're between these numbers, they're okay. We looked at the history, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody knows, once everyone's done with the round, they want to find out who wins, find out if they win any skins money, and get out of there.
Right.
So if as tour directors, if we're contacting the committee after 18 holes, now we're holding up everything just to see what they say.
Right.
So my advice would be, and I mean, I've contacted you numerous times, Tim, give them some time. give them some time. Let that flight know, hey, we're investigating something. It might be a little bit longer than usual, but let's get the flights out of the way that you can,
Right.
and let that one that's pending go through the process. Because if you weren't here, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago? It was clear cut, and now it's evolved to where we give everybody an opportunity depending on your history.
Right.
Like you said, course conditions. Was it raining? Were you playing it up? Did you move the tee boxes up because it was pouring? Whatever it may be. Now there's a process that we can go through to make sure we give you guys the opportunity to make the fairest ruling possible.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, all 5 of the tour directors that are doing this, they're all very responsive. I'm including me in this. All very responsive. Something comes through, even if they're playing, they get on it. They research. They look at it. And again, if there's a discussion that needs to be had, we have it, right? And so nobody. I don't think we've ever had any where anybody has dug their heels in and said, this is what it has to be, and that's that. I
Right.
think everybody's open minded, and so let's just say, for the most part, if I'm clear on something, I'll say yes or no, and here's why. I'll give the 2, 3, 4 different reasons, yes or no, whatever it is. If I'm on the fence, I'll say, okay, this is what I think, and here's why, but I'm okay if we go the other way. Right.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a lot of that. And Dennis's role, so everybody knows, he's just collecting the information and passes it on. He
Right.
isn't this year. He isn't part of the decision making role, which I think in a way it's good, because it's it's letting the tour directors handle it, and he can off be doing those other things. So
Right.
I think this is maybe the second year we've had the committee, or second or third year, whatever it is, and I think it's really evolving. I think we're being a lot more fair about it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I just, you made the point, if you feel like something needs to be looked at, don't be scared or hesitant to bring it up, because you paid the same amount of money that everybody else paid, and you deserve the same amount of respect. And, if you feel like you might be cheated or something needs to be looked at, you have the same amount of responsibility as everybody else to go out there and say something.
Right.
So, I tell my guys all the time, if there's something we want to talk about, I'm an open book. Let's have a conversation, but don't do it after the awards have been given out and then you want to have a look at it.
Yeah, because
but I'll get you an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once the awards are done,
once
there's
the
nothing you can do.
awards have been given out,
It's over.
right? It's all done. But if you bring it up before we even start that conversation, 99% of the times I'm going to give that answer of, oh yeah, we're already looking into it,
Right.
Because I've already contacted who we need to contact. So it makes that conversation a whole lot easier.
It does.
If your tour director is already on top of it before the 18 holes have even been completed.
Right. And then you can give the player or players, the feedback. Yeah, yes, DQ because of this, and this, or no because of this, and this, and it just
Right.
It just is what it is. I mean, so like as a for example, and I'm just going to bring up Sea Flight again because we had one. The index was not out of range. It was close, but it was this. The guy has like 100 rounds, and it's the best round he's ever shot.
Right.
So
Right.
we're not, if it's not out of range, it's not even a question, right? But it was a low score, and so you just say that, and it may work out in your favor, it may not, but at least you have a reason, and we're treating these things equally across the board.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing that we've done, through this process is looking at the Golf Week history. Because then the guys that have been with us for a long time, we can speak to that.
Right.
As opposed to the new member who's come in, this is his second or third event, and he goes super low, and it's like, well, I don't have anything to speak to that.
Right.
Like, I know you're showing me your gin, but your everyday weekly games with your friends is not the same as tournament golf that we're playing.
Right.
So here's the reason why.
And most of the time when you have that evidence for them, I mean, most of the time they're okay with it. Sometimes it's not. And you got to do the best you can to smooth it over, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but being the director and running these events, it's a lot of fun.
it is.
It's a great time, but these conversations are what we really signed up for, to be able to have these conversations with the players, and come up with those answers.
Right.
And I mean, as much as we would not like to have them, I mean, we've made the decision, and I think Dennis has picked, all these great directors with the confidence that we can have these
Right.
conversations.
Exactly. Let's talk about some fun stuff. So
let's go.
So I had a tournament in a couple weeks ago. It was Heritage Week, and it was up in Sky Valley, Georgia, up in the mountains of northern Georgia, and it was on Saturday. And Dennis was kind enough to give me and Jen tickets to Heritage on Sunday. So
Look at you.
So Jen didn't come with me. I was up there by myself, and there's no cell service. So anything that we were doing, and so we're talking about this handicap stuff. I'm FaceTiming Jen because I can't get text to go through because I'm on Wi-Fi. The only way I can get anything done is FaceTime. So I'm FaceTiming Jen, talking about the handicap stuff, doing scoring, and jump in the car, and so we're doing some of these other handicap stuff, and I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's typing my responses in text and emails. So anyway, I had to get home. For Sunday so I can go to the Heritage. I get back about 11 o'clock Saturday night. I'm exhausted. Get up. Dennis really took care of us. So we got hospitality tickets. We were on the 18th green in the upper deck, like right behind the green.
Yeah.
With a new hotel vendor for national championship, and they really, really took care of us. It's I don't know if I'm allowed to say who it was, so I better keep it to myself.
But it's gonna be worth it.
It's gonna be worth it. They took really good care of us, and literally, I mean, we're upper deck, right overlooking the 18th green, so we're seeing it all come in. So we got there. Obviously, we got there early. We saw everybody come through. Everybody that played. I was going to walk around, but once we got there and saw the seats, I said, "There's no way I'm leaving because I'm going to see everybody that I want to see."
Right.
So the food was phenomenal. Drinks. I mean, everything was top notch, first class all the way. Free food and drinks all day. Great golf. Weather was beautiful. Hanging out with some fun people. It was a really, really good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, you sent me some pictures. Look great. I told you I needed Fleetwood to come in strong, top 5.
Yeah, he shit the bed.
And he was tracking all 3 days. And that last day, I don't know what happened between Saturday night and Sunday morning, but Jesus, yeah. But no, I mean that I have yet to actually gone to a PGA event. I haven't gone to Waste Management. I haven't done. My buddy of mine, who's one of our members, invited me to the TPC San Antonio event, the Valero.
Yeah.
That they have every year there. Haven't gone to that one yet. So I haven't gotten to experience the atmosphere of a PGA event. I think next year I might try the Waste Management. A couple of my friends went this year, and I think they're going to go again next year. So we might make a whole trip of that. But Dennis, if you're listening, if you ever get those Masters hospitalities, let me know.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I'll be the first one on one of the planes. Me and 50 other directors are going to be asking for tickets.
Well, Roger's now on my list because he did this and didn't invite us along with him or show us how to do that. So Roger's now on the list, and he didn't bring us anything back. So
yeah. I didn't want to bring it up during the interview, but at least a nice little hat or something would have been nice. So even a ball marker, even those I know are like $50, but a ball marker would have been nice.
Well, I've been twice. I've been to the Masters twice, and $1 million an hour, that's probably not far off. If it's, I mean, it's probably not far off as big as that place is, and as much as things cost, the number of people that they cram in there, it's insane.
Oh, I bet you they made more this year because of all the delays. Because where's everybody going to go? The play's delayed.
Go inside.
Or suspended. Where are they going to go? They're going to go on and buy stuff. So I bet you they made record numbers this year.
I'm sure.
But no, I've seen pictures. I've seen people, social media now. They post their pictures. They dropped thousands of dollars on merchandise, and it's just insane for that little logo to get something. But then again, I go to a nice private course or a PGA course, and I'm buying a flag and a polo and a hat I'll never wear and a ball marker I'll never use. So I can just imagine the Masters.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just crazy. So how's your golf game been?
But no, I'm glad. Actually been really good lately. I recently cleared out my garage. I got a net that barely fits inside the garage. I mean, I'm talking inches from the ceiling. And with me being only 5'5", I can swing a 6-iron in there and not have to worry about hitting the garage mechanisms or the roof or anything. So it's perfect.
Good.
Have a little hitting bay. Spend a little time in there. Waiting for the clothes to dry. Go hit a couple balls, this and that. So it's actually been paying off real well on the course. Haven't been able to go and actually seen the results in the tournament round. But I've been shooting low 80s last couple of weeks with just the friendly round. So we'll see what happens.
Good.
I'm excited.
Good. When's your next tournament?
On Saturday or Sunday, actually, we're going to go up to Alamo Gordo, play a new course we haven't played before. It was recommended by one of my members, Desert Lakes Golf Course. From what I hear, it's pretty tricky. If I'm not mistaken, the first 9 is kind of like in a desert area, and the last 9 goes into like a community area. So you kind of have a little bit of both worlds. But I'm super excited to go out there and see how it is. I believe we're going to have close to 45, 50 guys go out. So it's going to be a good time.
Good. Well, we don't play.
And you?
We don't play again until May 7th, but that's our member guest. And so we're really, really trying to push our members to bring guests and get them out there and have a good time. And hopefully, well, some guests is going to get free membership. I know we already have some signed up, so I know what one guest is going to win free membership by winning the Stableford side game, and I'm hoping we can get 80 guys out. So that's my goal.
Right. It is the one that we talked about before, where it's a regular event, but they can bring a guest and do the Stableford.
Yep. So we pair the member and the guest up and do a Stableford score, and then compare it with all the member guest teams. And if you sign up, and you if you're a guest and you don't have a member bringing you, don't worry, we'll pair you up with somebody and make it fun, so you still an opportunity to win that free membership.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to get people to come out and see what you're all about. Yep. And it's easy to do, especially if you have a program that can do it for you.
Exactly. I actually do. We used to, before we did live score, I don't know if you noticed, we had something called Tournament Manager, and that did it.
Okay.
But since I'm a Mac guy, I don't have PC. So when we transitioned out of that, we don't have any PCs. I just bought I think it cost me like $50. A tournament software that does it. I use it. Before when I had the other tours, I use it more, but this year I'll use it twice a year. It's a perpetual license. So you just plug everything in. It does it all for you.
Nice. Hopefully, in not the near future, but in the future, we can have options like that in our live scoring scrambles or Staplefords or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Just throwing it out there, Jen, in case you're listening.
Oh, she better listen. She doesn't listen. I joke. She does listen. She does. So like, I know nobody ever hears it before. I'm the only one that hears the episode before it's ever done, before it goes live.
Right.
I don't let Jen hear it. Nobody hears it until it goes live now. So you have to actually go and listen. And Jen's a trooper with it. She'll listen to it, on her phone, on her computer, and in the car on both Apple and Spotify. So,
she's helping us out. I like it. I like it.
So, yeah, she's a trooper with it. I mean, she enjoys it. She enjoys listening to it. She thinks it's great. She shares it. So, we get our tour directors that have it on in Nashville. Plug it with your players, and Jeff, plug it with your players. The more we can do it, the faster it's going to grow. And again, it sounds like we're begging for listeners. We are, but we're not. I mean, our numbers are great. I'm really happy with our numbers. It's more I'm begging for guys to listen to it so that they can get the information, right? So they can hear about, not just the rules, but what's going on across the country, different tours.
Yeah.
Regionals, traveling, all these other things. So, but yeah.
Yeah. We've gotten great response. Even last year at Nationals, we only had maybe 4 events or 4 podcasts, if anything.
Yep.
And just people coming up saying they loved it. So, if you know somebody who's not listening to it, just one day when you're playing a fun round, just play it.
Yeah.
Start on the first hole and just play the latest episode and see what happens. Because, like you said, I mean, even our roll segment is just something that's a great addition that we now have.
Yeah. So I think we're coming up on a couple of regionals coming up. You brought it up, a couple of regionals coming up in May. So hopefully we'll have some courses on, talking about the courses over the next couple of episodes.
Yep, I'll be excited for that.
All right, my friend. Well, I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Hope things go well.
Yes, sir. We'll see you then.
All right, take care.
Be safe.
Chris, we didn't do it again.
What didn't we do?
We didn't say how to join the tour.
That's right. It's simple. All you need to do is go to amateurgolftour.net, click the Join the Tour button, and pay your local tour's membership.
Thanks, Chris. Membership for 2024 is open, so register today to join the oldest, largest, and best amateur tour in the country.